You know how some places just hum with creativity?
Yeah.
Well, everything we've looked at suggests the Cristóbal Gabarrón Foundation and Museum in 2025 is definitely one of those spots. It's such an epicenter.
Absolutely. We're seeing this fascinating mix, aren't we, from these like huge public art things to much more intimate encounters.
And exhibitions, smashing different art forms together, even this global network of artist residencies, it just feels like a really vibrant moment over there.
It really does. And, diving into the video transcripts in the Foundation's newsletter, it gives you a real sense of this living, breathing artistic ecosystem.
Right, where ideas are constantly being explored and expressed in all sorts of ways.
Exactly. Diverse ways.
Okay, so for this deep dive, our aim is really to cut through the noise. Yeah.
Good.
Give you a clear picture of what's actually happening,
Hmm.
and maybe more importantly, what's driving it all. What are the underlying values here?
Good question. Let's say we start with a big personal milestone. That seems to be sparking a lot of this energy.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This year, 2025, it marks Cristóbal Gabarrón's 80th birthday. That's April 25th.
Okay, 80 years.
And what's really interesting, maybe a bit coincidental, maybe not, is that date is also the anniversary of the drafting of the UN Charter.
Huh, that makes you wonder, doesn't it, given the themes in his work? Peace, human rights.
Exactly. It almost feels symbolic
Right.
because Gabarrón's art has, well, consistently tackled those big universal ideas. You mentioned peace, human rights, the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, too.
It's like a recurring thread throughout his whole career, and what's quite insightful, I think, is how early he embraced these themes. Way before they became sort of mainstream in the art world.
That's a really great point. It kind of positions him as a bit of a visionary, doesn't it, in socially conscious art?
Yeah, I think so.
And, well, to mark this 80th year, there's a major exhibition opening May 15th. It's described as anthological.
Okay, so for someone maybe not deep in the art world, what does anthological actually mean here? What's the scope?
Think of it like a really comprehensive journey through his artistic life. A retrospective, but maybe even broader.
Right.
And this one sounds ambitious. It's spread across two places, the Centro Cultural Las Claras in Murcia and the Gabarrón Museum in Mula.
2 locations, wow.
Yeah. And having established figures like Cristobal Bilda and Javier Perez Segura curating it, well, that adds significant credibility, right?
Oh, definitely. Suggests a really thoughtful, probably be quite scholarly approach to presenting his work.
For sure. And it's not just visual arts. There's also a musical tribute planned.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, May 17th in Mula, again. A pianist, Manuel Tevar, is doing a concert called Homenage a Cristóbal Gabarrón.
Oh, Maj.
And here's the really cool part. It's a world premiere. Music actually inspired by Gabarrón's art.
Wow, that's amazing. So art inspiring music directly.
Exactly. And it's even scheduled to travel later in the year to the National Auditorium in Madrid. Talk about different art forms really having a conversation.
It really shows how Gabarrón's vision kind of resonates across different creative fields. Mm-hmm.
And, it's also worth noting, he's been named Peranio del Año 2025.
Right. By the Federation of Peñas Huertanas.
Now, what does that title, Peranio del Año, tell us about his connection maybe to the local community there?
Well, it seems to highlight his deep ties to the traditions of the Murcia region, the Huerta.
Oh, okay.
So even with this big international profile, he's clearly still very connected to his roots.
Right. It adds another layer, another dimension to his artistic identity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And kind of cementing that local connection even further, his artwork El Despertar de la Primavera, The Awakening of Spring, that's been chosen for the 2025 Bando de la Huerta in Murcia, which is a big local festival, right?
It's a very big deal there, yes. And that image of spring awakening, symbolizing rebirth, a new cycle. It feels very fitting as he hits this 80-year milestone.
Totally. So, okay, we see how his personal milestone is being celebrated with these pretty significant artistic events. And this commitment to his vision, it seems to extend outwards into the foundation's broader engagement with the community. Like this next piece of public art we looked at.
Oh, yes, the installation called Solo Somos Invisibles, Juntos Somos Invencibles.
Which translates to, alone we are invisible, together we are invincible. That's quite a title. It's in the Plaza de Santo Domingo in Murcia.
Yeah, a very public space. And it's a powerful statement just from the description.
The description, these figures holding hands, forming a human chain, it immediately shouts, Unity, solidarity, doesn't it?
Definitely. It speaks volumes about collective effort, commitment, working together.
And what's fascinating here is how it connects specifically to Murcia being the 2025 Spanish capital of social economy.
Right. Explain that connection a bit more. Social economy.
Well, social economy really emphasizes values like cooperation, social responsibility, community benefit over just profit.
Okay.
So you can see how that visual of interconnected figures holding hands and the message, "Together we are invincible," directly reflects those core ideas.
It's almost like a visual manifesto for it.
Exactly. And it clearly made an impact. Even Eric Maskin, the Nobel Laureate in economics.
That Eric Maskin.
Yeah. He apparently described it as a marvelous metaphor of human cooperation and mentioned the vibrant colors and cheerful faces.
High praise indeed. Did the sources say anything about what impact that kind of recognition had from a Nobel laureate? Did it, like, boost visibility?
It certainly seemed to amplify the message. The foundation definitely highlighted his endorsement, suggesting it really validated the artwork's power to communicate those social economy ideas, drew wider attention.
Makes sense.
I also noticed the materials mentioned durable steel, representing sustainability, resilience.
And there are 14 figures, which puts the focus squarely on humanism, on people. It all feels very deliberate.
Very intentional, yeah.
Absolutely. And apparently there's a bench built into it, or near it, to encourage dialogue.
Yeah, encouraging dialogue. And the fact that it's in an open plaza signifies transparency. All key values for social economy.
It all ties together neatly.
And that title again, "Alone we are invisible, together we are invincible." It's just such a direct, resonant message about, choosing unity over division.
A very timely message, too.
Indeed. So from that really tangible message of unity in public sculpture, let's maybe shift gears to an exhibition that explores a fascinating mix of art forms that you wouldn't necessarily put together.
Ah, you must mean Gravities by Miguel Ángel Ruiz. That was at the Gabarron Museum in Murcia earlier this year, February to April.
Right. This is the one that took graffiti art and somehow turned it into 3D sculptures.
Exactly. It's a really intriguing way to try and bridge those often quite separate worlds, urban street art and more traditional sculpture.
Yeah, they often feel miles apart. What was the spark? What inspired this unusual transformation?
Well, the exhibition apparently draws from Ruiz's own experience on a Camino de Santiago pilgrimage route.
Oh, okay. The pilgrimage trail.
Yeah, but one that spans Spain, Malta, and Italy. So quite an extensive journey. And that journey clearly had a profound impact, because the exhibition itself is actually set to travel later to Malta and Rome, extending that whole artistic pilgrimage idea.
So he's literally taking these typically flat, maybe temporary 2D graffiti sketches and giving them this permanent three-dimensional form. The sources mentioned something about contrasting colors, creating a visual vibration. What's that about?
Yeah, it sounds like it creates this sense of energy, of movement, even within a static sculpture, trying to capture some of that dynamism you get in street art.
Right, okay, like making the sculpture feel alive?
Sort of, and the description also points to influences from pop art, maybe the aesthetics of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Even a touch of Japanese influence, apparently. It's a real fusion.
A melting pot of styles.
Pretty much. But the core idea, as you said, is taking graffiti off the wall, out of its usual city context, and making it sculptural. Right. Trying to connect maybe classical statuary with that rebellious spirit of graffiti art.
It's almost like capturing that raw urban energy, but then reframing it, putting it on a pedestal, literally in a gallery.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I like that the write-up mentioned the artwork offers multiple viewpoints.
How so?
Well, both literally, you can walk around it and see different angles, but also figuratively. It allows for different interpretations, avoids just one single meaning.
Which is good art, right? Open to interpretation. Now, the foundation isn't just a space for showing finished work. It seems like it's also actively trying to foster artistic encounters, engage the community.
That's definitely the impression. We saw that mention of Eduardo Chilita Belzuns and Susana Alvarez visiting the museum.
Right, preparing for a future exhibition of their own, I think.
Yeah, and there are positive feedback about the museum's collection being varied and potent. That really highlights its curatorial strength, doesn't it?
It does. Good sign. And then there was that performance piece, Puente de Larga Distancia, Long Distance Bridge.
Ah, yes, by Domix Carrito and Willem Wilhelmus. That sounds like a totally different kind of artistic experience.
Yeah, described as action art, focused on the live interaction, body, time, space, and involving the audience. What exactly is action art for, the uninitiated?
It's essentially a type of performance art where the main emphasis is on the live experience itself, the actions the artists take. It often incorporates the audience, the specific environment. It's very in the moment.
Okay. Less about a finished object, more about the process and experience.
Exactly. And what seemed really compelling about this particular performance was the international collaboration. You had a Finnish artist, Wilhelmus, and a Mercian artist, Garrido, working together.
Right. Did the sources give any hint about, like, challenges, language barrier maybe, and how that might have actually shaped the art?
Interestingly, yeah, they highlighted how the artists seem to transcend the language barriers through their artistic actions,
Ah.
with the audience acting as that long-distance bridge of understanding, as the title suggests.
So the limitation maybe pushed them towards more nonverbal universal communication.
It seems likely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the improvisational nature of it was also stressed, emphasizing spontaneity, the present moment.
It really showcases the foundation supporting a broad spectrum of artistic practices beyond just painting or sculpture.
Indeed. And their reach, as we mentioned, goes international too. Cristóbal Gabarrón himself participated in the Art CUID 2025 Sculpture Biennial
Where was that?
in Amsterdam. He featured his Atlanta Star and Olympic Forest sculptures there.
Oh, those pieces from the 96 Atlanta Olympics, right? Iconic.
The very same. It's great to see them getting new audiences.
Definitely. And the theme of that biennial illustration, celebrating Amsterdam's freedom and tolerance, that seems to fit well with Gabarron's own values.
It does seem like a good match. And it's noteworthy, apparently he was one of only 2 Spanish artists there, among over 70 international artists.
Wow, really underscores his global standing then.
For sure. And beyond showcasing established work, the foundation is actively supporting new creation through their artist residency program.
Right, the one at the Gabarron Sculpture Park in Weisenberg, Germany.
Exactly. That just kicked off in early May.
And they selected a really diverse group for the first round, didn't they? Artists from different places, different disciplines.
Yeah, including a collaboration with an abstract art program called Abstracta. It's fascinating to see that commitment to fostering new talent and talent from all over the globe.
It really speaks to a longer-term vision, doesn't it? Beyond just celebrating Gabarron's own legacy.
Absolutely. And what's particularly interesting is the little glimpse we got into some of their projects.
Like what?
Well, for example, one artist, Nacho Martin, is exploring the connection between inner landscapes and outer landscapes. Another, Christina Alamo, is focusing on reconnecting with nature using textiles, organic stuff.
Interesting. Highlights the variety of explorations they're supporting there.
Totally.
And this park in Weisenberg, it's a collaboration, right, with the Peter Wilmot Thompson Foundation.
That's right.
What's their focus, the Thompson Foundation? Why is that partnership significant for Gabarron?
Well, the Peter Wilmot Thompson Foundation focuses on promoting arts and culture, particularly sculpture, so it's a natural fit.
Ah, okay.
And this partnership lets the Gabarron Foundation extend its reach, its impact internationally. Creates a hub for artists in Germany, fosters that cross-cultural exchange. It's quite a strategic alliance, really. Amplifies both their missions.
Makes sense. And this whole Weisenberg Park initiative, it's part of a broader concept they call Museo Peregrino.
Yes, the Pilgrim Museum.
That sounds intriguing. Is it about, like, temporary pop-up exhibitions, or is it more of a long-term strategic thing with these international hubs?
It seems more like a long-term vision.
Yeah.
Creating these satellite locations that effectively extend the Gabarron Museum's presence, its collection, beyond the main site in Mula.
Okay.
So the Sculptureman Park Weisenberg, which already has work by over 30 international artists, becomes like a permanent extension. It fosters ongoing dialogue, showcases a wider range of voices.
Got it. So looking ahead now, there are more big milestones coming up for the foundation itself, right?
Yes, the Cristobal Gabarrón Museum is actually approaching its 20th anniversary, June 2025.
20 years. That's significant. Marks 2 decades as a vital center for art and culture in the region and beyond.
Definitely. And to help guide its future, apparently the museum has set up a scientific committee.
A scientific committee for an art museum.
Yeah, it seems like it's comprised of experts in art history, museology, cultural management, that sort of thing.
Okay. That suggests a really thoughtful approach to its next chapter, doesn't it? Its development, engaging with the wider art world.
Seems that way. Yeah. Very forward-looking.
We also saw mention of the Espacio La Bodega project. That sounds quite cool. What's its purpose?
From what I gathered, it's designed as a space to showcase more experimental stuff, innovative artistic proposals.
Right, like a platform for maybe emerging artists, pushing creative boundaries a bit.
Precisely. And then there's the Obra del Mes, the Work of the Month section. Currently, it's featuring a series called Juntos somos más fuertes.
Together we are stronger. That echoes the public sculpture, doesn't it?
Directly. Ties into those themes of unity and diversity we saw with the Invincible sculpture. And there's even a temporary exhibition of this series planned for May.
See, it's all so interconnected, different facets of their activity linking up.
It really is. And then there's the Museo Conectado initiative, the Connected Museum.
Right, including the liaison section. What was that about recently?
That recently featured the Museum of Islamic Art in Doha, Qatar, showcasing its collection, but also framing it within Qatar's broader cultural transformation.
Interesting. So for someone listening who's maybe interested in how this kind of global cultural exchange actually happens, what does the Foundation's involvement in Amsterdam, Germany, and now this connection with Qatar, what does it tell us about their whole approach?
I think it highlights a really outward-looking, very collaborative strategy. They seem to be actively building bridges between cultures through art.
Fostering dialogue, showcasing diverse artistic expressions from all over.
Exactly. It's really about creating a global conversation, using art as the language.
So, okay, as we kind of bring this deep dive towards a close, the sheer range of activity surrounding the Cristóbal Gabarrón Foundation in 2025, it's genuinely remarkable.
It really is. Quite impressive.
Absolutely. We've seen these really consistent themes popping up again and again: collaboration, social engagement, artistic innovation.
Woven through everything, from Gabarron's own birthday celebrations to those international residencies, that powerful public art.
Yeah. And the core values underpinning it all seem pretty clear, don't they?
I think so. Unity, diversity, humanism, and just this deep-seated belief in the power of art.
Right. The power of art to cross borders, spark reflection.
Both within the local community in Murcia and, on a much bigger global scale.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Consider how these different kinds of artistic expression, these collaborative projects, how they can actually contribute to greater understanding, maybe even progress, both locally and globally.
It's a powerful thought.
So, if you listening have been intrigued by all this and want to learn more, we definitely recommend checking out the Cristóbal Gabarrón Foundation's website or finding them on social media.
Yeah, there's clearly a lot more depth there to explore.
Absolutely a wealth of information just waiting to be discovered.